Yeah?
That was our last podcast. Welcome everyone. That was our last one we did. All those about 2-3 years ago, whatever. 2 years ago.
The Bretzler.
It was about Emuna. So we're carrying on the subject now. We're living it in a frat. We're applying it.
100%.
And he was just after a huge conference as well. Did you see that?
I did. So tell us about it.
Yeah, we want to hear a little bit.
Tell us all about it.
Can I give you some water?
Of course, some water.
Wasn't that amazing? We've got to keep hydrated, I wrote in my healthy post. So that means hydrated spiritually and physically. So we're doing the spiritual and physical.
Oh, for sure.
There we go. So, honor.
We're going to start with the bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nihiyeh bidvaro.
Amen.
Yes, do you mind just your one? Because I'm not even there on the screen. Just slightly to the left. No, the angle. There we go. Perfect. So the woman.
Amen. We'll hit the song. You ready?
Let's do it.
אנחנו מאמינים ואין לנו מאמין לישראל אלא אבינו שבשמיים אנחנו מאמינים ואין לנו מאמין לישראל אלא אבינו שבשמיים ישראל בטח השם אזם מגינם 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 אנחנו מאמינים אין לנו המילה ישראל אלא אבינו שבשמיים אנחנו מאמינים אין לנו המילה ישראל אלא אבינו שבשמיים. I really do believe that everything that's been happening over the past 3, 4, 5 years, although God is more concealed than he's ever been before, it's just him just saying, hey guys, I'm here. Remember me? Just believe and trust me.
I actually think he is less concealed than ever before. I'd say it a different way.
Wow.
I'll say it like this. Because again, I explained this to people in my daily programming.
Who are you, Avi Abelow? I mean, I know.
My name is Avi Abelow, a blessed man to be friends with these two tzaddikim, Yosef, Aharon, Goldsmith. I'm blessed to be part of this really holy, special kahila of Shirat David under
shout out Shirat David,
Rav Shlomo Katz. And who am I? I'm a Pashto Yid, proud father and husband, blessed to be bringing our 4 boys up in our ancestral homeland, to be feeling what it is to be natural Jews growing up in their natural habitats of our ancestral homeland. And blessed to be using whatever skills or voice that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me. I have a daily media program. It's a non-profit organization where we're the media war for Israel, fighting for the Jewish people against our external enemies, helping people understand what we're really up against on a daily level, and the internal challenges we're up against within the Jewish people that are trying to bring us down, which is so hence I'm always talking about the spiritual war, and to go bring that all back to
isn't that what it's all about? This is what
it's all about.
It's almost as if they know and we're trying to comprehend it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The internal challenges within the Jewish people, explain this. It's always been that our own worst enemies have always been within the Jewish people. And again, let's just call it what it is, the Erev Rav. They exist. They're within us. Again, I'm no rabbi.
You went there pretty fast, huh?
I did go pretty fast. You took me there.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You took me there.
I remember last time when you came and spoke in the studio there, and I was a bit nervous to get as politically involved. So thank God, after living here a few years,
no, this is
seeing the urgency, we're like in another world now.
Yeah. It's understood.
My son, like in Azza, 9 months. Yours also, like. And,
now we have two.
Two. So like. life's changed a little bit since you should.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't know who the Erev is, right?
But
That's the whole.
Yeah, but
So
think
how
of it
do
like
we-
this. Think of it as it's a spiritual war. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always trying us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always trying us. He always wants us to be better. I mean, again, we can go however spiritual or deep we want to go. But then the existential question comes up: why is there evil in the world? If God wants there to be good, why isn't everything all good? Well, if there wasn't evil, man wouldn't choose good. It's only
Right.
because there's evil, man gets to have the opportunity to use his free will to choose good. So evil is out there in a sense for our benefit to come up to overcome it and make ourselves better and make the world a better place by us realizing what we're up against to bring good into the world.
And there's always that deeper question: did God actually create evil?
Of course.
But then,
He gave us Bechira. It's all. I mean,
think
of
it's
course,
clear.
I'm going.
I spoke Shabbos before Musa, whoever was here, and we gave a shout, of course, for the Just One Chesed and Yosef Aaron's Meals for Heroes, all the amazing stuff he does. But now we can publicly give a shout out to Pulse of Israel, the conference you did, and I know from my event before with Sholem, it's still not paid up completely personally. So, like, you see, when you put on an event, you take responsibility for the community. Financially, it's always a burden. It is.
Right.
And it's putting yourself out there, or feeding all the soldiers, putting yourself out there. It's a big responsibility once you get involved with the Seaboard, but it's also a big merit. And whoever is listening, this is part of the Real Kindness podcast. That means real action. And I spoke about it this Shabbat, Musaf. I said that we are the greatest generation because we have the most Bechira. We have the most choice. We have the ability to go after our eyes, go after our heart, for things that are going to lose our focus.
Right.
Or to be focused on, like, what we're trying to do is do real projects to make real differences to people's lives, to really bring inspiration, bring unity, bring truth, clarity, awareness, so that people aren't going on the wrong track.
Right.
but it's for the ultimate goal, right? The ultimate goal is, as we've discussed many times here in the Shurim and Shirat Devi as a whole, is to bring Mashiach, right?
Sure.
100%.
And the last time I was in America, which was a couple of weeks ago, right before Shavuot, I got back. I was at a fundraise, and I was talking to some of my friends. I think I mentioned this the last time, but I don't know if you heard this. And just talking to them, trying to convince them or relay how important it is for them to come home. And they respond, "Yeah, I'll come when Mashiach comes."
And you bring Mashiach.
Right. So
Bring Mashiach.
my response to them was, I was a little frustrated, disappointed by their response. And he's like, "Whoa, what do you want from me?" Like, no, I wake up every morning. Say Moda'ana, do not touch them. Second Kodesh Shachar, and I drink my cup of coffee. As I'm drinking my cup of coffee, you know what I'm thinking about? What can I do today to help bring Mashiach faster?
Yeah.
This is what are you doing to bring Mashiach?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And that goes
What
together.
and that ties into the concept of Emuna.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Do we believe be'emunah shlema
Yes, I'm a Shia.
b'viat HaMashiach?
That
Do we
is-
believe it or not?
You know,
Do
the
we
Chabadniks,
believe
they leave out Afal-Pi Shes Mameh. They just wanted the Vias HaMashiach. But we have to, but that's one of the Ani Mamin. Say it please for me.
Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema b'viat HaMashiach. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's from the Rambam. We have an obligation.
Right. And following your point before, I 100% agree. We are the generation that has the ability for so much good. Like, the fact that all the evil in the world is being exposed, the fact that all the ta'avot, all the evil inclinations, all the basic human desires, everything is so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I mean, just walking down the street in terms of modesty, just in terms of the issue of dress and modesty, it's like there are no rules anymore.
Right.
I mean, forget about different parades taking place in cities like San Francisco and New York, and it's like modesty is gone. But then we have to look at it as the positive. And as the Jew, like we were saying, it's giving us the opportunity to overcome it all on such a higher level more than our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents who were not challenged as much to have to deal with those basic desires. So that's just an example. So the same thing in terms of the evil that exists today.
But that does make him less concealed, though. Just that we have the ability. I still believe that he's less concealed than ever before. But it's the
Right.
fact that we have the ability to choose.
Right.
That's the Emuna.
Right, exactly.
Emuna's
No,
going to
no,
help
no.
us make the right choice. That's why Avi came in to help us today. To just
Can you tell us about the conference?
100%.
Tell us
Yeah.
about the conference.
Yeah, we want to hear.
So the conference, this is the second time we had our conference in Jerusalem and live streams all over the world for people all over. Seriously,
There was thousands watching.
yeah, thousands watching all over the world, countries all over the world. And the Pulse of Israel in my voice is about giving people the inspiring hope beyond the depressing, sad headlines that make everything seem so horrible. Whether on a global stage, on a national stage, on the Jewish people stage, things seem so bad. And I'm about trying to give people the inspiring, politically incorrect truth to analyze exactly what's going on the current events, real politic level, and then give over the inspiration, the Emuna-based, I call the belief-based aspect of what's really going on to give people hope and inspiration to move forward in these very challenging, traumatic, sad times. Talking about trauma, I was out with my wife last night, and we were just
Which
in our...
we encourage, by the way.
Yeah, spend time with your wives,
Yes.
spend time with your
That was
husbands.
another
date
part
night.
of my schmooze, Musa.
Date
If
night.
you're going to use
Make
these
sure
next
you
few
do it at
months,
least once every couple of
yeah,
weeks.
focus on your family. This is the time period.
Yeah,
This is a
definitely.
great opportunity.
Do not waste your life on work, no matter
Yeah.
how important your work is. Your family is more important than your work. You can deal without that other $1,000,
Yeah.
$100, $10,000, whatever. Your family is more important than your work and whatever
The
money
most
you have in your bank
important.
account. So we were at this little restaurant in Talpiot, and all of a sudden we hear boom, boom, boom. And seriously, it sounded like bombs were going off, shooting was happening. Everyone at the restaurant jumped.
Yeah.
Some ladies were screaming. People were running to the back of the restaurant.
Wow.
So it ends up that it was zikukim. How do you say it?
Firecrackers.
Firecrackers.
4th of July.
No,
2
no,
days
no.
later.
Like a wedding that was taking
Blame
place
on
across the
Americans.
street, right? But, I mean, there were women in there screaming, and one lady kept on screaming, we're a country in trauma. It's like,
Right.
don't do, like, who did that? What are you thinking? Like, it's seriously, and I was ready to,
People were told not to do it.
right, and I was ready to jump outside, but I didn't have my gun on me. So instead, I stayed inside to protect my wife and whoever was inside. But for that minute of uncertainty, it was very traumatic. So those are the times we're in, and hence, like, it's very sad, it's very scary. A lot of people are very depressed. So I use the Pulse of Israel in my voice in my daily programming. And again, if you're not following me yet, you want this inspiration, go to pulseofisrael.com and click subscribe.
Highly recommended.
Thanks, guys.
It's
Avi
one
is
of my
awesome.
podcast on my podcast list. Every time he posts, it comes up. Subscribe.
So where are
Spotify's
you
a
on?
big
You're on
platform.
Believe it or not,
Facebook,
Spotify
you're
took
on
me down. I have to try to.
No
I'm
way?
still trying to figure out how to get
I
back up
noticed
on
recently.
Spotify.
You
Yeah,
know,
a month ago they took me down. I'm still trying to get back on. Every time I
yeah,
try
I
to
noticed
sign
last 2
in,
weeks. That's it.
yeah, I can't get in. I do password, do password, nothing works. I have no clue. And again,
Get back in.
I'll
Get back in. We want you there.
I'm trying. So the conference this year, first of all, look, I'll start with the conference last year. It was very, very important for me to have this conference last year, and everyone thought I was crazy because I put it together in 3 weeks.
Wow.
3 weeks, this huge conference, and why did I want to do it last year? Because there was a topic that is not being discussed. It's still hardly being discussed, but it's a little more out there than it was last year. And this is in June 2023, right? This is before the October 7th Simchat Torah massacre. And the issue was unmasking the anti-Semitism behind the Palestinian national movement.
Wow.
Because I've been talking for years how this whole thing called Palestine, it's one big blood libel. It's the biggest blood libel of all of Jewish history, where you have Jews being attacked all over the world. They don't even know history, and yet they're attacking people because they think they're socially virtuous, saying, oh, I believe in Palestine, and hence I hate Israel, and hence I hate the Jew, and hence I'll attack a Jew in the streets of London or Los Angeles, New York. Total anti-Semitism. People don't understand the second you accept the two-state solution, you are anti-Semitic. Jews are allowing the growth of anti-Semitism by supporting the two-state solution. Like, people don't understand it. Once you say you believe in the two-state solution, that means Palestinians exist, that means that Jews are occupiers in our ancestral homeland. Boom! That's it. So that's what the conference was last year. And
I
put it
remember, it
together.
was very clear.
Yeah,
You had some real experts in there.
yeah, unbelievable. Really
That's
powerful.
the thing, it's factual.
Yeah.
It's not like this. I don't know if anyone heard Biden, Manis Friedman picked up on it, that he said that the idea that we're truth, but not facts. Which is like, what is that?
That's what he said?
Yeah. That just shows you how it's all just based on nonsense.
It tells you it's all a spiritual
It
world
goes
of
to show
connecting
you
to HaKadosh
where
Baruch Hu.
the U.S. and the world in general
Truth and
is right
facts
now.
go together.
No, my truth, meaning my feelings, are more important than your facts.
Right.
Right.
Fact is, the Jewish people are ancestral, indigenous people to the land of Israel. Nothing to argue with. So basically that was last year. And this year we thought, all right, let's go. We're now in the middle of this war. And it's funny because this year we started earlier. So we started 2.5 months before, not 3 weeks before, right? So we had no clue what was going to be 2.5 months ago when trying to think of what the title, what the subject of the conference would be. But I figured the war's still going to be going on. What I like to tell people, and I said this at the conference, is that this isn't the Gaza war. It's not a new war. This is the 77th year of the War of Independence in 1948. All right, and that's what Jews have to switch their minds. Like, we don't have enough leaders telling us the truth about what we're going through. Thinking like, oh, that war's over, and now we're back to normal, and now we can have peace with our neighbors. No, we're in an existential war. It's a religious war. We're surrounded by hundreds of millions, if not billions, of Arab Muslims who want to destroy us and kill us out of a religious desire because they believe that that's what they're told in the Quran. That's what it's about. That's we're in the 77th war of the War of Independence. It never ended. They just changed their names and whatever, entities of who they are officially. So this year, we said, you know what, we're going to talk about next steps. I want to give people the hope about moving forward, even though we're in this war, after what happened to us, the biggest tragedy, the biggest massacre to the Jewish people in the land of Israel since the Holocaust. So the conference was focused on next steps, putting together Israel's roadmap to true independence. Why true independence? Well, independence, because one, we're not truly independent. Look, we can't fight this war. We're 9 months into this war, and our hands are tied behind our backs. America, the U.S. administration, today's U.S. administration is tying our hands behind our backs, withholding weapons. We're in an existential war, and our biggest ally is withholding weapons from us. They're not letting us fight properly. We're not able to win. They're not letting us take land. The only way you win a war is by taking land away from the enemy. We should have been setting up new communities in the Gaza Strip months ago. Besides our politicians saying, oh, no, we can't resettle the Gaza Strip and we have to let them have self-rule there again, even though we all know that means that Hamas, Islamic Jihad, or the kafir-loving teddy bear lovers, whatever new names they come up to call themselves, are going to be in charge there and continue trying to kill us. So we all know eventually we're going to be there forever and resettling, and my children know we're going to have homes on the beaches of Gush Katif.
Yeah,
we're going to be there. It's inevitable.
Getting a
Right. If you're a realist, you know that's the only solution, which we spoke about at the conference as well. But the world is stopping us from doing it, making us look as if we're evil and having our politicians look afraid of saying what needs to be done. So we're in an existential war where the world is against us and stopping us.
Well, talking about the war being against us, I just want to throw in, like, say Michael Rappaport came, which is a big deal.
Right, we gave him an award, right.
And so someone on that level who really, from what I understood, was a Democrat at one point, and which generally was a bit more in the middle, maybe, or maybe I don't know. It's complicated what it was. But we know now.
Well, the Democrats of today aren't necessarily near what they were back in the day.
But nevertheless, I don't think he was as strong about Israel and pride as he is now. So how did it manifest at the conference? How did we give over there?
Well, actually, after here, I'm going to be on my way to my studio in Jerusalem to interview him and get him to talk his story.
So you've got to go and watch the full interview there. But can you just give us a little insight what he said at the actual conference?
It's very simple. I mean,
without dropping the F-bombs that he dropped.
Yeah, no, but I have to say, when we reached out to him to give him the award for the conference, and we just asked very politely if it would be okay for him to speak without those colorful words, he was totally fine. Like he's totally respectful. He knows how to talk to different audiences. He has a certain public persona. Yeah. But he's such Michael Rappaport. If you're watching this, you are such a mensch. He's such a down-to-earth guy, and he is searching for his Jewish identity. October 7th woke him up, and him together with his wife are on a journey. They're on their Jewish journey right now. This is now their 4th time visiting Israel since October 7th. He was never in Israel before October 7th.
So based on you, because you're traveling a lot, you're going to the US, you're doing conferences, and if anyone wants to reach out direct to Avi or myself or Unity Bookings. I'm always happy to assist and
Sure, yes,
get
please.
events going as part of what we want to get your name out even more, so that when you're in America, you can be even more effective in your outreach to with these truth and the facts and the Emuna. Are people accessing that last point, the Emuna aspect? Are they connecting October 7th to more Emuna in Hashem, more Emuna in Torah, more Emuna in Eretz Yisrael, more Emuna in themselves? Is it manifesting? Because we're hoping it is. That's what we're, the real kindness. We believe kindness comes together with the Torah and Emuna. Yosef is very strong in pushing that. Now,
To me, and if I can interject for a second, to me, and this is why I wore this shirt today, I think the way to gain Emuna is to be grateful. Like, I was at dinner last night with a couple of friends, and they're like, where was God? October 7th. And they're looking at it in that way, and I was just like, can I just flip it on you for a second? Let me just flip it on you a second and say, since the existence of the state of Israel, every single second that we've been living here is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. The fact that we live here in Efrat, and we have an unbelievable Kitat Konenos, and they're awesome, but if 200 of those cockroaches in Bet Lechem decide that they want to come and do whatever, it's a miracle every single day. The fact that we actually exist within the neighboring Arab countries is an absolute miracle. So where was God? He was right there. Where were we?
I like to say that there are two main proofs that God exists. This is for anyone, Jew or non-Jew alike. Proof number one, that the Jewish people exist. There's no rational explanation for how the Jewish people exist after 2,000 plus years of continuous exile persecution. No rational explanation, only because God wants us to be here, hence we're proof that God exists. Proof number two is that the modern Jewish state of Israel, again, which is 76 years young, it's really 3,500 years old, that we exist. Because, again, I reiterate all the time the point you just said, we're a daily miracle. Every day that we exist,
we're a secondly miracle.
Like, right, and we're proof that God exists, right? And then what I tell people when they focus on that, I'm like, guys, you're human. You're using your five senses to understand reality. God is above time. Just take a step back as a parent, right? As a parent, sometimes, and again, I'm not using exact analogy here, but sometimes as a parent, we're not always the best towards our kids, or the best as our kids want us to act towards them. Our kids think we're angry at them. Our kids think we're punishing them. We as parents understand we're doing what we think is best. We see the long picture of the child's life. So we, in our limited human understanding of reality, see what we see as good, as bad, and things that look horrible. How could God do this? God's looking, he's timeless. God is timeless, right? And everything is, and there's the processes that take place, and sometimes bad things are part of the processes in order to bring good things along. So I'm a big believer, like we started talking about evil, because you asked, did God create evil? God created free will so that man can do evil, right? So bad things happen, but in the long scheme of things, we have to take ourselves out of the five senses, very limited human ability of understanding reality and understanding God, and say, wait a second, I'm a believer. I believe everything's for the best. I believe God is leading us to a time for us to take responsibility and be part of the process to bring the redemption, bring the Geula, have Mashiach come, which is partly Jews coming and living in Israel to be part of that process. And unfortunately, we Jews have to wake up sometimes, and sometimes bad things are necessary in order for us to wake up, and it's part of a long process, and you have to hold on and strengthen your Emuna, and not to look at the bad. And again, I'm all for being upset at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right, you could be mad at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Some things happen, be mad. Be mad. That is a relationship. You have a spouse, husband, wife. Sometimes you're mad at each other. That shouldn't take it away from your love and your commitment to continue working together to make a better life together for the two of you, for your family, for your greater community, for humanity. So same thing with God. Every once in a while, be mad when something upsets you. But don't take your eye off of the ball, which is the bigger picture, and the process we're going through as a Jew, as the Jewish community, as the Jewish people in Israel, and as humanity towards bringing the Geula. So that's how I tell people to look at October 7th or tragedies. And then to answer your question specifically about how, in terms of all my talks to communities and people, I can tell you two things. There's 2 points. One, I give over the message of spirituality when I talk. When I explain to people, I'm going to communities all over the place to explain to them what's going on in the war. Again, I'm serving in this war. I'm in IDF reserve duty every few months. I'm supposed to go back in next month if it happens, so that we'll see. I have 2 sons fighting in Gaza right now, so I'm there. I know what's going on.
It's dedicated to their shmira, to their heavenly protection.
Amen, amen.
My son Bokas and Damesh and all the other soldiers.
And they're both in that Sanchanim units.
So they see each other.
Every once in a while, that's right. So when I explain to people there's the physical war, but beyond the physical war is the spiritual war. And again, this is one of the reasons I tell, and if you're watching and you live up abroad, you're not yet living in Israel. You're not yet been blessed to make that decision to come home. I tell them, in Israel, we're experiencing the spiritual process in a much more stronger way than Jews around the world. Yes, there are Jews strengthening their Jewish connection more, their Jewish identity connecting to Israel, but on a daily level, the spiritual process we as a Jewish people are experiencing here, and I tell people, do not listen to the headline news. Not even the Jewish headline news. Because on the ground, if you're on the ground, whether in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or Haifa, you see unity of the Jewish people. You see ultra-Orthodox, you see secular, you see national religious. We go shopping together, we're in hospitals together, we work together, we're in cars together, we're serving the army together. Don't listen to the horrific headline news about protests and the divided people. It's noise. That's the Erev Rav trying to make a problem and cause division. Yes, there are a tiny amount of people causing division. They don't represent the klal. They don't represent the people. The people, the majority of Am Yisrael, are going through a unification process and strengthening our unity on the ground. So follow that. So that's the message you give over to people.
I love it.
How many people?
Everything unity, inspired unity, united souls.
Of course.
What just one chesed does all day, like helping inspire kindness, and that brings more unity. Everything we're trying to do, all 3 of us, is totally in line with your message. We're all aligned, and now it's a matter of people listening, doing something about it, and they themselves getting the message out there, supporting Avi Abelow's beautiful online platforms, Pulse of Israel, your conferences, helping him grow that, reach more communities in America and beyond. And
but before we wrap up
wait, let me get point number 2.
I want to
finish answering the question.
Because
point number 1 was, yes, that's the message I give across. How many people are internalizing that and really internalizing that, who hear me from all these talks? I don't know, but I hope some people are internalizing that. Point number 2 is I do have many people who contact me who say, because they listen to my programming, they are more connected to wanting to come back home and live in Israel. Which that's the biggest manifestation of internalizing the spiritual process that they understand they are going through or should be going through as a Jew today. So those are the two points in terms of data points I have to know about the process that people might be going through. And but all I can do, I tell people, I'm just the one planting the seeds.
Right.
So when people invite me to speak to their communities, I'm there to help plant the seeds, and then it's for them to grow those seeds over time and then develop individually with their families, etc. I can give one story to actually further encourage this.
Please.
I was on the street doing one of my Pulse of Israel videos, and this woman stops while watching me, and I stopped videoing me in a second. I'm like, can I help you? Everything okay? I had no clue what her story was. Israeli, American, no clue. Ends up, she is an American Jewish woman from Florida, here in Israel with her family for vacation. And she was actually in Efrat for Shabbat with her family. All right. Was she at Shirat David? I don't know, actually. Possibly. I don't know.
To come visit. I got one of my students.
All right. So obviously, you're talking about a woman and a family that deeply connected to Israel, even though they're living in America. And so she was in Efrat for Shabbat, and then she just out of the blue, and she goes, "Who are you? What's your story?" And I said, "What I do," and I'm about strengthening people's connection with their Jewish identity and Israel, etc. And she just asked me right there on the spot, "Give me the Aliyah pitch. Give me the elevator pitch for Aliyah." Obviously, she was getting it when she was in Efrat, right?
Sure.
So I give the Aliyah pitch, and then she calls over her husband, and she goes, "Give him the pitch also," because I think she was the one stronger.
She was sold.
She was sold.
He was on the fence.
Right. The husband wasn't. Right. So I get that. And then we continue talking, and in terms, and I said about for the kids in the future. And then I just threw it out there. I'm saying, listen, I'll tell you one of the blessings about living here in Israel today. And there's a story I like to tell that I have a towel in my office. Why do I have a towel in my office? Because on any given day I can just jump to the mikvah, jump on a light rail to the old city of Jerusalem, go up to the Temple Mount, okay, not the western wall of the Temple Mount down below, but up to the Temple Mount, and pray the Mincha prayer in the minyan on the Temple Mount. Okay? I'm saying that's how blessed we are to be living in Israel today. Like for thousands of years, not even possible, and we're blessed to have this opportunity. And all of a sudden she goes, "Can we go up with you to the Temple Mount?" I'm like, "Sure, how long are you here?" I thought she mentioned she was only in Israel for like another day or whatever. So I'm like, "All right, so we'll go tomorrow." The next day, I went with her family, her boys, her husband to the mikveh, and we went up to the Temple Mount, kehalacha, according to Jewish law, with her as well.
Wow.
Obviously, she also went to the mikveh following Jewish law.
Wow.
And from what I understand, again, she was here with her kids for another 2-3 weeks, enjoying the land of Israel with her kids to experience living in Israel and connecting what it feels like to be a Jew in Israel. They're making Aliyah.
Wow.
Husband's on board. They've decided they're making Aliyah.
Welcome up, I am welcome.
All right. Now, I'm not taking any credit. A lot of people were involved, and obviously the mother was on her own personal journey and working with her husband to get there. But that's a process. She with her husband and with her kids went through a process. They actively went through a process. If you're Jewish and not yet living in Israel yet, and not yet thinking of Aliyah, of coming home, or you're thinking about it but not doing anything about it, be inspired by this mother. It's something you do. It's an active process. She worked with her husband. She worked with her children. She actually had her children be excited. I mean, I met them at the beginning, and they weren't so excited about Israel. And then I was following her on Facebook. Her kids were loving Israel. And they're sensing, and she was probably like, they understand living here is living Jewish. It's not just living a Jew, and I'm sorry all you Americans or anyone in the diaspora, but yes, you're all second-class citizens. You might not think of it, you're second-class citizens, and the growing anti-Semitism today is reminding you, and again, if you're religious, though you don't think of it as much, but definitely the less religious Jews, they're reminding Jews today that you're Jews first, and Americans, or British, or French, or German, or Canadian second. It's taking anti-Semitism to remind Jews of that. You're Jews. You're not American. You're not French. You're not British. Most of your grandparents weren't American or French or British. They were Polish or Litvish or Russian or Ukrainian. Their grandparents or great-grandparents were from different countries because we are, or African or Middle Eastern. We're Jews. We're Jews. You happen to have American citizenship right now. But the fact that you, and again, I'm not calling this as blaming. I'm trying to help you get into your own heads. The fact that American Jews and religious Jews, and the best religious Jews, living in the most strongest Jewish, religious, Orthodox communities in America today, whether Lakewood or New York or Boca, the fact that you teach your children that you're Americans, you guys are missing the education of your children. You're Jews, and you just happen to be living in a generation to be blessed to live in a country that's been good to Jews, and hence you guys right now are American citizens. But you're Jews. I promise you, your grandchildren are probably not going to be American. They're going to be Israeli.
This reminds me of that story.
Better. You heard it.
You are Jews, right? Jews in the
Jews who come from Judea and Samaria, by the way.
A little bit.
Right? That's where Jews come. But what you just said, it reminds me of the story of Golda Meir and Henry Kissinger. Right?
Which story?
Golda Meir and Henry Kissinger. When he said, Golda, I'm a congressman, I'm American, and I'm a Jew. She's like, don't forget, in Hebrew we read left to right.
Right.
I mean, right to left.
So then really Jew was first.
Right. So, yes,
right.
everything that Avi is saying is obviously emet. I really wanted to get to you were talking about next steps. Maybe we'll do that on the next one, but I think one of the things that I personally fear is that with the next steps is like I don't necessarily see the proper potential leadership in order to get us to where we want to be. Do we have someone who we can look up to, who has Yirat Shamayim, who mamash is somebody that at the end of the day knows.
As Emuna.
Yirat Shamayim, Emuna, they go hand in hand, like mamash. Who is that? Who's that leader? Is because I don't see it.
So I'll answer you like this. I think part of the beauty of the spiritual process and the redemption process we're going through right now is that we're weaning ourselves off of the leader mentality of saviorhood. Mashiach will come, but before Mashiach comes, Am Yisrael as a collective will be leading ourselves, despite the fact that we are leaderless. And then Mashiach's going to come in. And I see the spiritual process we're going in as Am Yisrael. We're taking responsibility. We're taking responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
From ourselves.
The Tzaddikim told me, I remember Rabbi Taub, who survived the Holocaust, he said, this generation, each person has to become Avi Abelow. And that was his Masorah from Eli Novi, he said. So he heard this from Eli Novi.
Listen, let's be clear. We are leaderless.
He's not, some Rabbanim had issues with his statements, but he was a big Ma'amin.
How many, I mean...
To have Emuna in yourself as an individual, as an Avi Abelow, as an Avi.
October 7th, I mean, again, I look at October 7th in a belief-based and Emuna-based way. Before October 7th, the Zionist narrative, and again, I'm a big Tzioni, right? But to me, Tzionut is Jerusalem. I'm not looking at it as a secular political movement. You can't be a Jew without being a Tzioni, meaning Tzion is Yerushalayim. A Jew is connected to Israel, meaning the fact that some people took it in a political way, well, they're bad, but ultimately we're Zionism is the Jewish. You can't be a Jew without being Zionistic. Any Jew who thinks that, he's not being a Jew, right? But before October 7th, the Zionist narrative was, the secular Zionist narrative was, we're only here in the land of Israel because of David Ben Gurion, and because of Moshe Dayan, and because of the army, and because of the generals, right? That was the narrative until October 7th. And a national religious like us, well, I say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut. Why? Because I know God's behind it. Yes, we have human people that are on the ground because HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs our partnership, but it's really God. We're only here because of the miracles, and He's watching over us, not just because of our secular leaders who won the wars and led the politics and the governments. Not at all. Because of Hashem, and they did their things on the ground. What was October 7th? October 7th, we saw the total failure of leadership on all levels. All levels, political, intelligence, military intelligence, everything, all failed. Why? What's the belief-based lesson out of all that? It was a reminder to all of Am Yisrael, and that's what we're going through in Israel today, because that's why you have so many Jews, and secular Jews, who were not necessarily religious before October 7th, strengthening their Jewish identity because they realize, oh my God, we're only here because of God. That's what October 7th, that's the real wake-up call of October 7th, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wasn't there, it's that evil people did something evil because it was allowed to be done because of so many things, and now people are waking up and realizing we're only here because of God. It's the opposite. And it's because people are waking up that we're supposed to strengthen our relationship with God, that we are going to bring the redemption. And we are leaderless. And again, how many rabbis in America today are telling the communities to wake up and realize they're Jews and not Americans and start making your Aliyah plans? How many? So I'm sorry, and I have plenty of friends who are rabbis, but community rabbis are not leaders. They're not leaders. Community rabbis are paid by the community, and they have to keep their jobs, and they're not being leaders. They are being paid to try to be spiritual liaisons to help their community grow. They're not telling their community what to do and what's right or wrong, because if they would, they'll be fired and they'd lose their jobs. So with all the kavod, and I have plenty of friends who are community rabbis, and there's a reason Rambam says you're not supposed to be paid to be a rabbi. I'll just put it out there. You're not able to be a true leader if you're being paid. You're not able to. It's the Rambam, it's not Avi Abelow. So we're leaderless. We don't have the rabbis telling us what we're supposed to do. Politicians don't have the Emuna necessary to do what we're supposed to do. We're in a process of the Jewish people on the ground, reclaiming our Emuna, reclaiming our identity as Jews, reclaiming our true connection with our ancestral homeland. And part of the conference and part of my messaging is understanding our identity. We are a chosen people, we're the chosen homeland, we're the chosen purpose. And that chosen purpose is to bring the redemption. And l'taken olam b'chut shakai. How? By being here in Israel. And people say, but if all the American Jews make Aliyah, then whatever. Listen, first of all, halavai, all Jews in America would make aliyah. Halavai, right? First of all, because that's what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to live here in order to fulfill our purpose. Unfortunately, I'm also a realist. That's not going to happen. But I am for whatever Jews do wake up to come home and not use it as an excuse. Because there are going to be plenty of Jews that are going to stay there and go down with the sinking ship of America and London and Britain and Canada and New Zealand and Australia. So if you at least are awake to realize you're a Jew and you should be home and raising your children to be proud Jews in their ancestral homeland, then come home. Don't use that as an excuse. There are plenty of other Jews who are going to stay who are not as connected. That's our purpose is here.
Can I put a stop to this now?
Yes.
Reason being, one, we've all got so much to do. Literally, one of the beautiful parts of all three of us is we're very active in doing things. I'm like watching messages flick on that phone. I've got another one there. I haven't even seen it. He's got his phone going wild. Your phone's going wild. There's a lot of pressure, Baruch Hashem, in a good way, for us to be proactive and do stuff. So on that note, we're going to end today's episode. We obviously see there's so much to say. We'll have to do a part 2, maybe another month or so. And I think that the Pulse of Israel is something everyone should follow. Please God, it will be back on all the platforms fully and should get the empowerment it needs. That means support it, guys. Support Unity projects, bookings, reach out. I'm happy to help Avi do bigger and bigger events in America and outside of Israel. And Yosef,
Chesed, Meals for Heroes.
There's so much going on right now. The war's not finished, like you said. It really never was not finished. It's always
was not finished, and it's not.
That's a very big point that
it's going to finish with the Gula. It's going to finish with Mashiach. I mean, if you really internalize
there's no
what the war
peace
is,
until Mashiach comes.
That's right.
Amen.
That's it.
Avi, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yes.
Two tzaddikim. What a pleasure. What a bracha.
It's an honor for us to have you.
Yes, a real kindness.
On our Mamash, you're our first guest on our podcast, and I feel like you couldn't have been anyone better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for watching, folks.
Keep sharing. One day we'll have someone deal with this stuff. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shira David, for hosting me again.
Thanks, Ready?